Hi, I'm Mark and welcome to Little Known Stocks, the show where I try to prove that being boring and doing your research will make you money. Now, today I'm going to be talking about Embracer Group. This was the company that I did my first ever video on. If you haven't seen it, it's a very detailed, in-depth exploration of the company, so I'll link that up in the top corner. But today I'm just going to be going through their Q4 2020-2021 quarterly report. It's a really good report. I said in my last video that I wasn't ready to invest in Embracer yet. It's worth noting that I have actually invested in this company now. I found it very difficult to find a way to invest in this company. I said that in my previous video. I've now got a really good way to invest in this. It's called Saxo. I've left a link in the comments below, so if you want to go and buy shares for Embracer, please use that link. But let's get started. So, Embracer Group, well, really strong earnings. So if we look at the financials and just refer to the growth numbers in these financials because it is phenomenal. So net sales of 2.4 billion SEK, so that's Swedish krona. You can see I've got my calculator here, so I've been doing all the numbers. That's around $280 million for the quarter, which is really great, up 80% year over year, mainly driven by Valheim, which is a really small studio. Really low expectations for that title, but it ended up selling 6.8 million copies, around £15, $20 a copy. Really huge return for that, so very impressive. What is also really impressive there is that the sales number growing 80% filters down really very strongly to the bottom line. So the EBIT is up 216% year over year, and the adjusted earnings per share is 113% up year over year to 2.07 SEK per share. Now, full year is 644, so that's 77 cents per year, up 129%, so that's really massive as well. Really good to see that they're not only profitable, but they're growing their profitability rapidly. Now that gives them a price to sales of about 33, which seems steep in isolation, but when you're looking at this type of growth, that's really impressive, I think, and we'll continue to see that. Remember, they haven't really released any games yet. So they noted again, same as last quarter really, the majority of these numbers are driven by their back catalogue sales. So they've got 90 projects that they expect to release this year. So really things are going to pick up massively, and the growth next year will be absolutely phenomenal. So I think that 33 looks really cheap at the moment. They mentioned a couple of titles in particular that have sold way above expectation. Destroy All Humans was more than 1 million copies. SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, more than 2 million copies sold. And these are quite niche titles, not necessarily thought of as the highest quality titles. So to sell that number of copies is really very impressive. So you can see the historical cost of release games, so not revenue generated from release games, but you can see next year that really starts to ramp up. They're steadily increasing as those 90 projects come through. It's worth really saying that Q4, they're really overweighted in Q4, so there must be some big projects coming out next year. There's a big risk with all game development that could get pushed back, and that could really dent their forward financial earnings. But, you know, massive growth still, even if they do just continue this slight trajectory up, that would still represent a really good performance year over year. So there's a lot of risk in this number, but there's also a lot of potential benefit, and really looking forward to seeing what the results are next year. I think they're really good value with that. Looking forward, they mentioned that Biomutant is selling above expectations already in the pre-orders. They've got some nice bonuses from the Japanese market, and their mobile acquisition, Brainbox, is selling above expectation as well. Slightly. They didn't say massively, they said slightly. Sorry, Easy Brain, not Brainbox. But, you know, things are looking good for some of their larger projects and their larger studios, which is already looking impressive. I think based on these financial results, I will be buying more shares in this company. I'm just waiting to see Biomutant. It's out in 4 days now. I'm waiting to see what the Metacritic is, because One thing that this company's done is they've bought up a lot of studios. They're starting to see really good, solid performing, high quality products. I just want to see what Biomutant is, which is really their first high AA title, I'll call it. I want to see whether they're maintaining that quality, and that will really give me more confidence that the studio is going to continue to put out really good, high value, high selling titles going forward. So only 4 days to wait after this, excellent earnings, and it will give me a little bit more perspective on the company. Now, a really big announcement was that Koch Media will be releasing the physical versions of Activision Blizzard games in Europe. I think they said not the UK, not Italy, but the rest of the European markets are still substantial. Interesting to see that Activision Blizzard is kind of stepping down from their own physical publishing role. As we know, it's the less profitable form of publishing. But that's really interesting. So we know we've got Call of Duty, obviously, which is the biggest seller every year, but we've also got games like Diablo 4 coming up, Overwatch 2, that there's going to be a number of titles. Activision Blizzard are absolutely massive. So this is going to be a significant piece of business moving forward. Really great to see them partnering with other industry giants. Now, if we talk about mergers and acquisitions, which is what Embracer Group are really about for a big extent, they have made some small acquisitions, which is good. Nothing really to call out, but the reformation of Free Radical Design. So they did have a lot of the original developers of Time Splitters from Free Radical Design in a number of their studios. They've now reformed that studio, so that really speaks to the fact that they probably want to start working on that IP, which they purchased, I believe, last year, and the cash amount that they've got, so it's here somewhere, 17 billion SEK. That's over $2 billion that they've got. So they really have a lot of cash on hand to use if they want to make big acquisitions. And I'll play you a clip after this, but they're talking about final stage discussions with over 20 developers or creatives they mentioned. So that's really good. I'll play you that clip in a minute. But the other thing is they're talking about how they acquire, and it's here somewhere, but really they gave very detailed explanations as to what they do when they're looking to acquire studios, and it's really impressive actually in terms of how they do that. So they're going through very, very detailed analysis of the breakdown of here we go, PPA process description, so purchase price acquisition process description. They're going through very detailed, they're identifying all the bottom line things. They're not just throwing money around, they're calculating so many future and past values. They're thinking about how do they buy them, do they use goodwill, do they buy them in cash, how long is the investment going to take. They're assuming 4 years of development time for any games that they take on, so they're not looking for immediate return. They're really being very sensible with their numbers, and I think they're being a little bit conservative with their numbers, it sounds like. Really nice to see that a company that's had a reputation for just buying up any old shit is really putting a lot of thought into their acquisitions. And those 20 potential acquisitions that they're making really sound exciting as well. So that's really great news.
And we are reporting this morning to give you a bit of color that we are currently in about 20 late stage talks with those entrepreneurs and creators.
Now, if we look at return on investment, now I showed you this in the last video. The weighted average that they had in the last video was 2.6. That's increased to 3.3. So as time goes on, their projects are still generating more revenue and moving up and to the right. As they age, they're still generating more revenue, which is really good news. They've got this squeeze up in the left axis. So Valheim created more than 50 times their return on investment. So that's definitely their most successful IP to date in terms of return on investment. But all of these projects, or the overwhelming majority, doing really, really well, which is great to see as well. Very, very consistent in their return on investment. Lastly, I'm just going to play you a nice little clip that shows that maybe Gearbox have got something else brewing that we didn't know about. It seems like they might be having a release in this next financial year. So that's really, really interesting, and I can't wait to see what that is as well.
Take-Two indicated in their Q4 on Tuesday night a major new release from Gearbox will come this financial year. Can we make an assumption that this will feature in the larger Q4 period?
In the respect to Take-Two and Gearbox, I don't really have any comments, so I let them speak. I'm just pleased and excited what they're doing together.
Great, I'll view that as confirmed. Just kidding.
So that's all I've got time for. In summary, I'm really starting to like this company more and more. I used to think they were a bit overpriced, but now I'm going from overpriced to fair value, or maybe even undervalued in terms of particularly their future growth potential. And these results really are phenomenal. So I'm definitely going to be investing more. But please don't listen to my advice. Do your own research and do all the due diligence that you need to do. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and have a good day.